This episode was recorded live over on twitch.tv/thearchitectgaming. Come and check it out. Hello everyone, I am the Architect and welcome to Stellaris. This is the first episode of this wonderful Let's Play of this wonderful game with your wonderful host. We're going to hop into this pretty quickly here. Most of you have seen Stellaris or know what this is. It's not a new game, it's a very popular game. Tons of people stream it, tons of people make videos on it. And I intend to be tons of people. So, we're going to be playing as the Volunteer Regime. This is not a method in which I normally play this game. Most of the time I like to play sort of a democratic style. Set up with other nations, try to form alliances. This time, taking a bit of an approach. Bit of a different approach. Let's go ahead and just go through what these people are. So we enjoy Savannah Worlds, and credit to anyone who gets the references in this. I'm not going to tell you where they are, not going to tell you what they are, but good job if you get them. So, we have a Savannah World, that's going to be our starting thing, mass drivers, wormhole, and these plantoid ships. I just love the plantoids pack. Not the best DLC, I was going to say best DLC, that's pushing it, but the plantoids are very much quite nice. And you'll see I'm also using plantoidy people. Savannah World, now, where, of course, a dictatorship, because why wouldn't we be? Totalitarian regime, cutthroat politics, this gives us +1 to monthly influence, and I have found that even in test games with other species, this is out-freaking standing. It never stops being good. It's really good in the early game, it's really good in the mid-game, and it's pretty good in the late game. It never stops being useful. Syncretic evolution. We will start with 4 pops of another subservient species. These pops are always strong, which is the useful trait that they have to be. If it wasn't for that, I probably would not be doing this entire playthrough, because this opens up some neat and interesting playstyles, something that I have never done. And a reason why I have a super dark coffee here is because you are going to get Dark Cross for this playthrough. I am going to be about as evil as you can possibly be. Not mass genocide, no, we're going to do something even worse. We're going for enslavement. We are fanatic, authoritarian, and this allows us to use the caste system. The caste system is just sort of a middle ground between citizens and slaves. It's not really, but that's how I'm choosing to think about it. This allows you to enslave different species in different ways and dictate how and when they are enslaved. It gives you more control over the slave system. Now, I've heard nothing but bad things about the slave system, and nothing but good things about the caste system. It seems to be that middle ground. You must be authoritarian to use the slave system, though. So that's useful. So, resettlement cost, -50, slave unrest, -20. Must be autocratic, part of the reason why we're dictatorial. Another reason is just because it's awesome. And we can displace aliens. And materialist. I'm leaving this one even though I don't really intend to go for any sort of AI. I'm leaving this just for the boost to research speed. I probably could have made this militaristic or even xenophobic if I really wanted to go hardcore into this. And if you want to recreate this type of setup, I actually really recommend xenophobic. It will allow you to not only use the caste system, but also use the straight-up regular slave system. It will also allow you to do advanced purging and give you just complete and total control over all of your pops. It's amazing. God, we're already getting into dark mode here. Talking about slavery is some amazing thing. Either way, I left this instead of militaristic and xenophobic, just because I want the research speed buff. And if I'm militaristic, it will definitely give me a benefit to engaging in military actions. And I don't inherently want to just engage in military actions if I can avoid it. I want to do some diplomacy at the very least. We're definitely going to get into wars. And they're going to be wars of conquest because we want to assimilate other species, take control of them, bring them into our empire, and have them work for us. Unless they suck, and then we will shoot them into the sun. We, as the species, are Intelligent. This gives us just a nice benefit to all research, and I find it to be one of the most powerful traits you can possibly have. And it's just essential. Everything I make has that. Sedentary. Takes longer for us to migrate, partly offset by that. And resettlement cost is increased. Yeah, like I said, it's offset by this. We don't really tend to be doing that to our own species, though. And I've never found this to be super big. Like, I've never noticed this as an issue. Times when I do play with it, times when I don't play with it, there's never really a problem. Enduring, leader lifespan plus 15 years, just fantastic. Talented, leader skill level plus 1. A lot of people don't like this. A lot of people think that this is a wasted trait. I disagree, and here's why I disagree. Because I'm me. I can do what I want. Decadent, happiness without slaves. Since we are a slave setup... Oh, I just thought of something. Does the caste system... Yes, they count as slaves. Okay. Yeah, so you're not happy. They're not happy if they're not on a planet with slaves. That's fine, because they should always be on a planet with slaves. And thanks to syncretic evolution, that will be the case literally from the very second I click start. We will start with slaves. Also, for those of you that are wanting to tune out because of what I said about talented, I choose this because it's a good early game buff. Yes, you can get skills which effectively, and just research that effectively does the same thing, decently early on, but this allows us to start taking the higher level anomalies earlier, and crossed with enduring, it means we can get some level 5 scientists, and even military leaders, and governors, to some extent, right off the bat. And that's just useful. You know, have more power. The better leaders you have, the better you can expand. And the early game land grab and expansion is just key. Really, you need to build for the early game. The mid and late game come as you play and as you adapt and figure out what you need to do. Build for the early game. So, this is who we're playing as. Voltirian Regime. And we are the Voltir. Let's jump right into this. Now, I'm going to explain some things just for people that don't normally play this game or haven't seen this a whole lot, so bear with me on that. This first episode might be a little slower going, but once we get the ball rolling, we'll really get up to speed. We're just going to do a medium star system. I don't want to overdo it. I have played on large a few times, but honestly I find mediums better. Small is actually quite fun. It seems like the smaller you play this, the faster things kind of happen. Now, it's not great for the super powerful end-game events, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Medium is a good middle ground. 600 stars, that's plenty of stars. Elliptical's more fun, it's just stars everywhere. My favorite is actually the 4-arm spiral, but for the sake of this playthrough, we're going to be going elliptical. AI Empires, I'm actually going to bring that to 8. I'm dropping it. I'm dropping it because in medium, I find that 9 is a little crowded for my taste. It's not horrible, but it is a little crowded. Advanced AI starts. We're going to do 3. We'll just leave it as 3. Maximum Fallen Empires, 2. I'm just doing 2, and I'm really hoping that it does spawn exactly 2, because there's great in-game events called the War in the Heavens, where fallen empires will go to war with each other. And you have to have at least 2 for that. Habitable worlds. Most of the time I put this at 1.75, and the reason for that is because I'm not super attacky, grabby, invadey type thing. This time I will be. I'm going to bring this to 1.5. I'm not dropping it a lot, because I always feel like 1 is a little too low. 1 always feels like there's just not enough planets, especially in the early game, which, like I said, is the important time. There's not enough planets to really colonize. Later on, you can get terraforming, and if you get more species into your empire, you can start to colonize a whole bunch of other worlds. I'm sticking with 1.5 just because it makes it more fun to colonize. Your empire is a little more clustered together, and there's a little more structure to things. We're going to stick with normal, aggressive, normal difficulty. Any FTL method is fine. empire placement. We're going to do clusters. Sometimes random is fun, but clusters is good. I'm turning advanced neighbors off just because I don't normally play this way. So having a stronger empire right next to me as a guaranteed thing is a little worrying to me. I don't need to be getting into wars right off the bat, especially because I'll be figuring out how the slave and caste system works kind of at the same time. I've dabbled with it a little bit, but not for a playthrough. In-game crisis. We are absolutely leaving that on. The in-game crisis are the point of this game. Apparently there is a win screen. I've never personally seen the game over you win screen, but it does exist. I don't know how you get it, but most of the time I just sort of play until I've reached my own personal goals, which are conquer the galaxy. You know, just set up a good infrastructure, beat the in-game crisis, be the superpower with a secure border and everything. I don't know. It varies based on what I'm doing, but I've never seen the end screen. Maybe we'll get to that in this stream. Iron Man mode. Now, Iron Man mode is the real proper way you should play it. It doesn't allow manual saving, and I know that some of you just read that through super quickly. It basically doesn't allow manual saving. I'm going to leave it off just because I need manual saving for the stream and because I'm recording. If something messes up with the game, I don't want to have lost all of that and just have a big old gap in the recording. So Iron Man mode, we're going with that. And let's jump right into it. Now, like I said, I'm going to explain something as we go. So, Voltirian regime. In the eons since the first primitive Voltirian communities took shape on the great savannas of Murgo, our civilization has spread and prospered. Despite our rapid progress through the technological ages, as a species, we were fragmented in infectual. Sorry, there is a fly buzzing around in here, and I cannot get rid of it, so you're going to see me freak out about that a few times. Fragmented and inefficient. A new system emerged during these chaotic times that delivered us from superstitious beliefs and brought order to society. Some resisted this change out of irrational fear, but after several pacification wars, they too became productive components of a greater whole. Now, after the successful creation of artificial subspace wormholes, the finest minds of the Voltirian regime have finished construction of the first wormhole station. At the edge of our system, the stars themselves are finally within our grasp. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have a little issue reading through these things. They're just gigantic walls of text, and they're super interesting, but I'm not a super talented reader. Let's get started. So game starts paused, yippee-ki-yay. Let's go through the initial setup, the thing that you just always kind of do. So we're gonna break the fleet up. I'm going to open up this. So let's see where we are. All right, we're kind of in a dead patch. That's not wonderful. In fact, that's actually quite bad. We have a kind of small world and a medium-sized world. We can probably colonize that medium-sized world. We'll have to see what else is available around here. Go here, then here, then here. Man, is that seriously it? Then here, and then back there. Second fleet, you're going to go here, then here, then here, then here. Please tell me that's in range. Good. Then here. And third fleet, you're going to go here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and then home. Okay, that will have them start expanding outward and exploring. This dotted line is the range that my wormhole generator can send us, and as I build new wormhole generators, that dotted line will expand. This dotted line and the red graphic that you see is our area of influence. In it, we are allowed to build. We can build in systems that are inside of this area of influence. However, we can colonize, build frontier outposts, and wormhole generators outside of this area. Everything else, though, needs to go inside. So any resources that we find out here, we need to bring into this dot. And that is a bit of a bummer that only 3 started here. Yeah, this was not a great start. Well, we're going to roll with it. We're going to roll with it. So that's that. First thing I want to do is we're going to get this construction ship. And this science ship, where are you? Oh, yes, let's take a look at our fleet. For those of you that have not seen the plantoid ships, here they are. I really dig the plantoid ships. I really do. Yeah, they're just kind of amazing. Okay, we're going to get the construction ship to follow the science ship. For those of you that just audibly sighed, oh my god, he's one of those people. Yes, I'm one of those people. I like to have a construction ship always follow the science ship. We're going to have it survey the system, so it's going to take a look for resources. And this way, the reason I have a construction ship following it is because if it finds something, it can immediately start construction. It's just those few precious days that make all the difference. Let's start here. Solar panel network's always a strong choice. Fusion reactor's always a strong choice. Don't feel like I need deflectors. We're going to go with fusion power for right now. I might regret that if we end up not finding a lot of power. In here for research, naval capacity, nope. Biolab, nope. Growth speed, not the strongest thing in the world. We're going to go with growth speed, though, just because it's the biological path, and that is the one we're going to end up taking. So we need this eventually. Let's grab it while it's available. Wow, not a wonderful start with our bonuses, is it? Yeah. Our leader could have ended up with a trait that actually buffs the science, and that would have been very nice. Oh well, no matter. And we have 2 fucking mechanical people. Alright. So, first things here. Improve the spaceport. Always a strong contender. Engineering facilities, I'm probably going to go with that one. Just want to be able to buff my engineering research. I really like engineering research. Society is arguably the strongest, but engineering is very useful, especially if you're going to be getting into a lot of wars. Ion thrusters are just better. We're getting fusion reactors, might as well get ion thrusters. Alright, looks good. Now, so that's science taken care of. Up here, for those of you that don't know, we have energy credits. Energy credits are your energy resource. Everything costs energy. Everything costs energy to run, and so you need to have this number be large. You can also use energy sort of as money in a lot of places. Same with minerals, and we'll get to that in a second. Energy is not generally a very bad resource in terms of you needing to get it. If this number is 1, is always a +1, you're sustainable. And that's really the bare minimum of what you need it to be. And that's fine. If it's a +1, you can deal. Having excess energy is great, and things do cost energy to build sometimes, so that's something to keep in mind. However, your priority must and should always be minerals. Minerals are what everything costs. They're just basically metal. They're what everything's built of. This number needs to not just be +1. If it's at +1, you have a crisis. This needs to be plus as high as physically possible. You need to be pumping resources. And we're going to get to the caste system in a minute, and why I'm a little excited to try that. Because resources have always been something I have a little problem with. Food. Food. You need food or else everyone starts dying. It's that simple. This number needs to be a positive at the minimum. And food is shared nation or empire-wide. Influence. Influence is another incredibly strong resource that allows you to do things like affect political outcomes, enact edicts, recruit leaders, like it says, frontier outposts, and make deals with factions. You also need this to declare wars and to make rivals and allies. It's just super important, and we had cutthroat politics because, as you can see there, gives us +1. In the early game, that is a +50%. That number will not always be +50%. We will, of course, get other things, but there will eventually be upkeep costs in influence. Cutthroat politics makes sure this number is always closer to being positive. Having this number be plus a single digit is just good. If you can make it plus any double-digit numbers, that's fantastic. You don't use it at such a rate that you need tens of thousands of it like you do with minerals, but you will use it, and it is super important. The things you do with it are game-changing. Unity. We will get to Unity later. That's just kind of all I have for that. Physics research, society research, and engineering research. These give you bonuses to your research speed. They are another resource you will find on the map and around the world, and very simply, the more is better. It's not the highest priority, but it will make your research and science go by faster. Strategic resources, we'll get to that when it becomes available. Directly controlled colonized systems. This is important. This is the number of worlds we are allowed to have and the number of worlds we do have. We have 1, Murgo, and we are allowed to have 3. In the core system, you can make other systems that are kind of autonomously managed, and then they can have more worlds in them, and that's how you expand. Having this number be higher gives you more direct control over more worlds and is just better. A good trick to do is to set up a world to be running the way you want it to be, and then incorporate it into a system. That way the AI can't mess it up. Naval capacity. We have 3 ships, we can have up to 14. This number goes up, more powerful armies. Some ships cost more than 1 unit. Battleships, for example, I think cost 4. Corvettes cost 2, and cruisers cost 1. Destroyers cost 2, maybe? Cruisers cost 3? I don't remember exactly. I'm not huge into the military, so that's going to be something new for me. So there's that explanation for people. Let's go into our world here. So we have our governor. I'm just going to stay our governor for right now. They do things and govern. Just having a governor on a planet is always a good idea. Usually a good idea. So, capital world always gets a bonus, yada yada, 17 planet size, not the best thing in the world. Habitability will always be 100% because we were born here. Now, oh wow, they look freaky. Now, this is the actual physical planet. These are pops. These are what they produce. Each of these tiles, if a pop is on that tile, it will produce that resource. Sometimes tiles give adjacency bonuses. So, for example, this facility gives an adjacency bonus, which you can see right here. Mineral output +1, food output +1, energy credit output +1. It gives an adjacency bonus to these tiles. These tiles are blocked. There's something in the way, and we need to clear it before we can actually access what's there. It costs resources and time. Like I said there's your cost. 40 energy, 40 minerals. Take some time to clear these things out. When you do that, you can start building there. Pops will spread. You will start to see this later, but pops will start to grow. And as they grow, new pops will pop up in spaces that are empty. That's how you effectively expand your population. It's just a time-based thing. Now these are the Vaultier. This is us. We're 50% happiness. That's just what you are at the start of the game. And consumer goods. We're going to talk about consumer goods. Everybody and everything consumes everybody. Not everything. Robots don't. Everything consumes everybody. Everybody consumes consumer goods. They consume a consumer good of 1 unit. This means that as a total, empire-wide, they are consuming half a mineral. It's not a huge downside, but it's something to keep in mind. So we'll get more into the expansion here later. And what type of world you're on will also affect a lot of this stuff. So remember that we took syncretic evolution. Syncretic evolution makes it to where instead of just the Murgo, or instead of just the Vaultier here on Murgo, we also get... Who are these guys? The Panaxala. Panaxala. Weird. Creepy and weird. Creepy and weird and creepy. Okay. They will have the same preference for world that we do because this is their home world too. However, they will be at a very low happiness and consume less resources. Now, they are prolos. So they produce more minerals, produce more food, and have high governing ethics attraction. However, they produce very low physics, energy, and society research. So you don't want to have them on any tile that produces any sort of scientific research like we have right here. This one produces 1 of physics, 2 of society, and 1 of engineering. It produces that because of the basic science lab right here. Basic science labs can be upgraded to focus on other things, but effectively, there you go. That tile is producing those resources. If I were to put them there, it would produce less. However, they produce better with minerals and food, so put them on minerals and food. They're strong. So army damage, so they make good ground soldiers, and they produce even more minerals. So currently, we're up to a 15% mineral production for them. And they are egalitarian. Yeah. Welcome to the caste system. We're going to start with volunteer here. And citizenship. So, these are the home race. And actually, let's go over to the Peninsula. Might change their name. Because we are set up the way that we are, we get to use the caste system. It's sort of like slavery. Sort of. Let's go through citizenship real quick. Full citizenship means that everyone is equal and they can produce leaders. Like you saw with the science tab here. These are leaders. So, also, if we go into the world here, this is a leader. Admirals are also considered leaders. There is a less roundabout way to get to that, and I will start doing that. So, this is just all perfect rights. We're actually going to go ahead and make the volunteer that. I want them to be full citizens. No caste system for them. No slaves of my own, of the true species allowed. Peninsula, however, are the caste system. Now we're going to go down through residents. Residents have a little hit to happiness, 5% hit to happiness. However, they consume 10% less consumer goods. So that's nice. They also cannot produce leaders. This is good if you have a species that you more or less just don't want in the leader pool, but want everything else to be citizenship. That's what they can do. No benefits and no negatives to any sort of production. Caste system. Full-on caste system. Pops of the species will be automatically enslaved. Only when producing food and minerals. And that's the key. Only when producing food and minerals. Enslaved pops have lower living standards. This means that if they are on a tile where they are producing food and minerals, they're slaves. If they are not on a tile where they're producing food and minerals, they are not slaves. That is important. Because slaves do not produce anything other than food and minerals very well. They take hits to everything else. So this means if we end up with another system or another species in here, we put them in the caste system and we can stick them wherever we want. Ones that are in dumb labor jobs are slaves. Ones that are in intellectual jobs are not. And you don't get a downside from that. If they are not in the caste system, if they're not slaves, I believe they're still full citizens and can produce leaders. I'm not 100% sure on that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we're going to find out eventually. Caste system residents. Same as the caste system. However, if they're not enslaved, then they're just residents and cannot produce full leaders. That's why I believe that the regular caste system can produce full leaders. I've never really played with this, so I'm not totally sure. However, the downside to this is whenever they're not slaves, they still take a minus 10% happiness penalty and consume 15% less goods. Now you will notice that is higher than resident. It is double the penalty to happiness, but 3 times the benefit to consumer good cost. So that's just a good thing. Slaves. You cannot have straight up slaves unless you are xenophobic. It's that simple. You have to be xenophobic to have straight up slaves. And in that situation, all the pops will be enslaved always, no matter where they are. It's just a weaker version of the caste system. And then undesirables. This one. All pops of this species will be systematically purged. Pops subject to purging, except neutering, have 0 consumer good cost. Oh, you looked all sad when I said that. Don't worry, we're not purging you. We're not purging you. We're not giving you full citizenship or anything, but we're not purging you. This is just if you need to get rid of something, and there's different purge types, which we'll get to eventually. Yeah. We may end up using that. It just depends who we take over. Currently, I want them to be on the caste system and them to be on the full citizenship. Moving right along to living standards. We start with decent living standards. This is no benefit or penalty to happiness, and you consume 1 consumer goods, just the standard 100% cost. In impoverished conditions, which they're going to stay in for a little while, they take a minus 10% happiness. You know what? No. I'm going to bring you to decent. I'm going to bring you up to decent. You're not as bad as other people. You deserve at least the basic living conditions. But here, you will see that they consume 25% less consumer goods, however, are 10% unhappy. Basic substance is just an even more extreme version of that. I can't do this one just because of the laundry list of reasons that I can't do it right there. But basically, it's just a more powerful version. They are 20% less happy, and consumer goods are at half. Non-existent can only be doing this if you're purging, I believe. Nothing. They have no consumer good costs. Yeah, we do not budget for the dead. Going the other direction, and I will be moving them up this tier eventually. Social welfare. This makes them happier, but it does cost 50% more goods for only a 10% penalty, or for only a 10% buff. Utopian. I cannot do this one because you have to be egalitarian. And odds are I'll never be able to do this one because I will never be egalitarian. It is the direct opposite to what I am doing. This is just an even more powerful double consumer goods cost. Double, though, that is a lot. Double consumer goods cost, 20% happiness. My end goal for the Voltaire are to get them to chemical bliss. Chemical bliss is not really hugely reliant on traits and everything. This, I just have to research subdermal stimulation. Once I've researched subdermal stimulation, I can enact this. Happiness plus 40%. It's basically they cannot be sad. Consumer good use, however, is plus 3%. All the munchies. All the munchies. They, however, will also produce 60% less of everything. Food, minerals, energy, unity, and all science. This makes them useless. They just effectively become useless. The idea is that I want the Voltaire to just retire to a life of luxury with everyone else doing their work for them. I'm going to need more species for that. And because we will be going down the genetic engineering tree, eventually we can effectively remove happiness entirely from other species. It's fantastic. And we can start genetically modifying our species and other species that we control to make them the perfect subservient races. Military service. Full military, limited, and none. Full military just means that they can be in armies and be generals and admirals. Limited military means they can be in armies, but not be generals and admirals. You cannot do this to the home race. However, that's where they are. And they have the strong trait, which means they will actually make really good armies. No military service means they're not allowed to be in armies, and they're not allowed to be leaders. This one is one that's used a lot more if you are militaristic, because there's militaristic government setups that make it to where you can't be a leader if you don't have time served in the military. And that's just, you can't be a leader, not just can't be an admiral or general, cannot be a leader at all. So if you remove their right to serve in the military, you remove their right to be elected anywhere. And that's interesting. Even when playing with a government type that allowed that, I never really did it. Colonization rights. Colonization allowed, colonization forbidden. Cannot forbid it for your home species. However, you can for your secondary home species. Wow, they really got the short end of everything, didn't they? Straightforward. Are you allowed to hop on a colony ship and go to other worlds, yes or no? Right now, yes. We need them everywhere. Population control. This is a big deal. So no population control for right now. That's great. This will lower their happiness by 20% if you do it. Now, you have to be careful, because you can get unrest if you start having like crazy restricted slaves with population control and migration controls and strong types and like shitty living situations. Pardon my French. It can be bad. So this one I'm probably never going to enact unless I really, really need to stop some people from growing. And if that's the case, I will probably buff their living conditions to offset it. It's like, hey, you're all going to be really happy, but you're not allowed to have kids. Migration controls. So pops can automatically move from one planet to another. If they do, sometimes that can mess up your setup at one planet or at another. This effectively allows you to control if they are allowed to do that, if they are allowed to freely migrate. It doesn't affect their happiness. It doesn't really affect anything. It is purely a setting for you to set up. Having migration controls enabled, which I have it on both of them for right now, can be extremely useful. Slaves, I don't think, get the ability to have no migration control, so I'm gonna have to keep that in mind. I can still manually relocate them, though. And same with the home species. Now, slavery type. Chattel is just the normal one. They produce more food and minerals. Straightforward slavery. Domestic servitude. This one sucks, and I'll explain why it sucks. Because it makes it to where they are really bad at everything. However, they make everyone else on the planet happy, all free races. There's not a stacking bonus, though, so you only need one pop of that species on that planet. And that's a problem because they will grow and they will spread. If you, however, set their population control to not allow them to breed, or if you have a planet full of them and don't allow them to migrate, you can manually move one over to a planet to just give it a nice gentle buff to its happiness. It's more work than it's worth, and I probably will not ever do it. Battle thralls, you have to actually have full-on slavery, not the caste system. So we're probably never going to get to that, but effectively they're just soldiers. They're cheap, generic soldiers that are expendable and recruited in mass and sent to the enemy to die. They are cannon fodder. Livestock. We might get to this. It just depends on how crazy evil we start going. You do need slaves again, so at some point I'll have to shift my ethics to be xenophobic, but I will be able to do that. Livestock makes it to where they no longer produce anything. Except food. Because they are food. You start eating them. Yeah. We'll get to that creepiness later. And purge type. Can't really mess with that right now. You can only mess with that if they are actively being purged, and I'm not going to do that to this species. But there's a few different types of purges, which we'll get to if it ends up being relevant. And that's it. Oh, no, that is not it. We're going to go to armies. You can see we don't really need armies. We'll get to that when it becomes relevant. Same thing with all this stuff. First, we need to build... Do I want a colony ship already? Okay, I'm not going to save it for a colony ship yet. We're just going to do another construction, another science. That's my standard start. And that way I can start sending 2 science ships out as soon as we really get rolling here. Which, let's really get rolling here. Let's see the ships heading off. Goodbye. Warp. And there they go. They're just going to start to explore and try to find me new worlds and new places to go to.
Construction complete.
Yay, spaceport has finished its construction queue. Let's bring the speed back to normal. I won't be on normal very often. A lot of the time I'll just either be playing super fast or paused. Science ship, where are you? What are you doing? You doing that? Alright, when you're finished with that... Ooh. There's a 22 Savannah world right there. We're going for you immediately. Alright, so science ship, we're going to start with you. And there's a 14 Savannah world. You see, I like having lots of populatable worlds. It's just nice. Don't... Science ship. So we need a leader in a science ship. So let's recruit ourselves a new scientist. Who do we have? Research speed for minerals is increased. Anomaly research speed and anomaly failure risk. I like you. You are 46, however. That's fine. So let's get you going out this way, I suppose. Yeah, let's get you going out this way. Survey there. Then... yeah, survey there. Then survey there. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good enough. Survey there. Other science ship. When you are finished with your works, let's get you to survey. 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 Alright, there we go. Everyone's surveying nice and surveyably. So, this is a kind of a long episode. I'm going to go ahead and cut it here for now. And when we come back, we will really start getting into the land grab and pushing for our events and scientific exploration. One of the main things we're also going to focus on is if we run into primitive races, starting to actually actively interfere with them and have them adapt our ideologies and then maybe uplift them into our culture and then enslave them into it. And they will be all grateful for it. So for now, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you have been enjoying it. And I will catch you all later.